The simplest way to understand what is changing is to understand that legislators are concerned primarily with individual safety online as well as privacy. And sometimes those things are getting conflated into legislation. So sometimes when we talk about safety in a piece of legislation, we really mean privacy. And uh, there's certainly good reason to be improving the privacy of students and young people in general. But there are also some potentially unintended consequences through legislation that we need to be mindful of, make sure we're solving the right problems. But COSA is really concerned with online safety. And it is actually been interesting because that bill has run into a lot of challenges in its short life to date because the way the bill is written could actually result in students, young people in general, being restricted from accessing certain content that is otherwise lawful for them to access. So, in the guise of safety, we are in a situation where potentially we could be inadvertently unduly restricting the content that kids can access. COPPA, on the other hand, is really primarily concerned, always has been concerned, with ensuring that parents are in the loop and are a gatekeeper between companies and young people when it comes to particularly the marketing side. And so how does that work in education? Well, we really want the school district to be in the gatekeeper. We really want the school district to be deciding what technology is used, provided that it's designed in accordance with applicable laws. So if the teenager has rights to step in and consent, how might that upset the balance in the class? For ed tech vendors, this is going to be really challenging. Some of these laws are designed in such a way that, and there are so many of these laws coming forward that the big companies are going to be able to navigate through it. Not easily, but they'll be able to do it. Whereas the small and mid-sized companies are going to be much more challenged, and that will have economic impact on their viability. So as we are looking to legislate certain practices that are primarily conducted with big companies, there may be some real adverse consequences for small and mid-sized company just trying to stay viable in the market. We also need to remember that things like age verification, there's not a sure way to do that yet with young people. Young people don't have a driver's license or an ID, and certainly not at the younger ages. So what we're talking about is really collecting a lot more information on individual in order to gauge where they are age-wise, in order to then provide them with certain features or services or restrict certain features or services. Privacy, security, and safety have to go hand in hand. If they're not all working at full speed, then none of them are working. We can't protect safety while compromising privacy and security. We can't protect security while compromising privacy. We need to figure out a way to do all three. And if all three are not possible, then it's probably the wrong tech, the wrong implementation. So we need to be really smart, not just about the tech we're choosing, but about how we're using it and how we're allowing it to be used to ensure that privacy, safety, and security remain three pillars that stand together. School district leaders really need to make sure their voice is heard here because everyone is talking about student data privacy except school districts. We need to hear from them. How is the tech used? How is it not used? What do they need? What are they really challenged with? Because what we're seeing is a move to leverage conversations about screen time and overuse of screen time into proposed legislation that would limit screen time in schools to maybe an hour or two, which is a fundamental shift in how schools operate these days and creates tremendous challenge for schools that need to almost reinvent themselves in order to teach while still trying to teach kids what they need to know, which is, in many cases, technology, how technology works, privacy, security, how we prepare them for the modern world if we're limiting their access to technology and content that is fair and appropriate for their ages. Two things that districts should be thinking about. One is their relationship with their community and their transparency with the community. How much does the parent community understand their current technology program and how they are currently operating to protect student data? because they need that trust. They need that transparency in order to be able to stand tall in the face of the conversations that are happening that are sometimes breathless, and are sometimes leading to well-intended but ill-advised legislation. So districts need to maybe look to their own communities and make sure that their communities understand what they're doing and that they are responsive to the community's needs in that regard. And the second thing is build partnerships with vendors. Make sure the vendors you're working with are partners and not just a means to an end. Have the conversations. Vendors are out there, and the good ones are happy to have the conversation about what they're seeing in the market, what they think the consequences might be, and how they can best support districts. And the vendors that can do that are the ones that are going to serve you well in the long run. Transparency is key. Vendors should be more than willing to have the conversation about their privacy and security practices with the district. And also, the more a district knows about privacy and security disciplines generally, the better they can decide if a vendor understands what they're talking about, right? You should be looking for vendors that understand student data privacy laws, understand the obligations that come with them, and are not over-promising, but are also non-cutting corners. And the more district technology leaders know, the better they can suss out the good ones. And that's really what you're looking for, are vendors that understand the awesome responsibility that comes with collecting student data. The real challenges are playing out at the state level, where we see this legislation that is looking at cell phone bans and translating that into a need for screen time limitations in the classroom, really without regard to quality of screen time, just screen time generally. And so if I were a school district, I'd really be paying attention at my state and local level, really what's happening there, and get to know my legislators there, and make sure that my voice was heard there. These legislators are responsive to what's happening in their community, and you don't want legislation that could really change the way education is delivered today happening without school districts having the primary say in the matter.